Now, back to tradition and progress. Pope Pius X understands that the future is going to show that although evolution is urged on by needs of necessities, yet if controlled by these alone, it would easily overstep the boundaries of tradition, and thus separated from its primitive vital principle, would make for ruin instead of progress. Hence, by those who study more closely the ideas of the modernists, evolution is described as a resultant from the conflict of two forces, one of them tending towards progress, the other towards conservation. This, by the way, and it is in the edition I got, page 34, remember that. Page 34 in the Angelus print edition of Pascendi Dominici Gregis, number 27. This is the most important of all the paragraphs of the whole document. This is the demasking, the unmasking of the Opus Dei. It is the unmasking of all the so-called conservative forces in the Conciliar Church. It is the total unmasking of Cardinal Ratzinger. It is the unmasking of the Commission Ecclesia Dei. Evolution is, listen very carefully. Evolution is described as a resultant from the conflict of two forces, one of them tending towards progress, the other towards conservation. The conserving force exists in the Church and is found in tradition. Tradition is represented by religious authority, and this both by right and in fact. By right, for it is in the very nature of authority to protect tradition. So it's not because it's coming from God, but because it needs each other. And in fact, since authority, raised as it is above the contingencies of life, feels hardly or not at all the spurs of progress. The progressive force, on the contrary, which responds to the inner needs, lies in the individual consciences and works in them, especially in such of them as are in more close and intimate contact with life. You heard about the bases knowing everything and the bureaucrats up there knowing nothing? Talking about the church, mind you, not Washington. Well, there it is true, eh? You heard about that, right? So as they are more close and intimate and in intimate contact with life, they know it. Already we observe, venerable brethren, the introduction of that most pernicious doctrine which would make of the laity the factor of progress in the church. Now it is by a species of covenant and compromise between these two forces of conservation and progress, that is to say, between authority and individual consciences, that changes and advances take place. So if anybody calls me a conservative, watch out. In politics, I'm a diehard Republican and conservative. In religion, I am not a conservative, I'm a Catholic. I've never been a progressive, I've never been a conservative. Because you see, this is the Marxist principle of dialectics. You create discussion, and with that discussion, you bury everything else. The church does not discuss. The church does not dialogue. The church teaches, period. And Christ said, who can take it, take it. Quis capere potest capiat. If not, go to hell, as the Irish say. You don't want it, you're lost.